Hi, I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Jujutsu Kaisen, Season 2, Episode 5. Last episode was intense. It was one of my favorite episodes of Jujutsu Kaisen, period. Yeah. Where do we go from here? Do we follow up with what, Gojo might do with the information that Fushiguro told him, about how Megumi is going to be...
Did we go right there to that little flashback that we got in the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen? Do we just skip in time a little bit?
No clue. Or this is when we go back into where we were at the end of season 1. Right. Interesting.
Is this Hidden Inventory 5? I'm pretty sure every episode has had the same title.
Yeah.
Luckily, we're not looking at that, so I don't think we could even answer accurately if we're going to be skipping back to season 1 current happenings or if we're going to stay here a little bit longer.
Maybe we see the interaction that we were questioning, when it happened in between Geto and Gojo in the train station, and we didn't know if that was that was them meeting for the first time, or if it was an interaction where they stumble upon each other after time had passed. Maybe we go down that road.
After they've parted for maybe they're not buddies anymore.
Yeah.
They haven't seen each other in a while. That's a good question.
Will Gojo respond to that teacher now that he has time? Maybe.
He probably lost the phone number, to be honest.
I hope not. Ready?
Yeah.
Sweet. Hey guys, Ben here. Unfortunately, we've been dealing with a lot of copyright issues in regards to our Jujutsu Kaisen reactions. Because of that, we're going to be hosting the reaction portion of our videos on our Patreon. So if you go down to the description of this video and click the link, anybody will be able to watch our Jujutsu Kaisen reactions there. Sorry for the inconvenience though. I know that sucks, but hopefully it will be resolved soon. But I hope you enjoy the reaction. Thanks. Okay, that was Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episode 5.
And that was the story of how 2 high school-aged boys became single dads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe because I just finished the episode. That was my favorite episode of Jujutsu Kaisen.
I think you said that
I know.
For sure.
The action last episode, the moments we've had in the first season in regards to action and everything like that, you can't beat it on that level.
Maybe storytelling and narrative for this episode?
No. Yes and no.
Okay.
Action alone, of course, you have to put them in their own pedigree and their own list, in at least my opinion. But where a crossover might happen there is direction of an episode. This is one of the best directed and best paced episodes of anime that I have ever seen in my entire life. But hands down, whoever was the supervisor for this episode, holy shit, man! This is far and away. Granted, it is the culmination of a great 4 episodes before it that did an amazing job that led them and gave them the opportunity to do what they did this episode. But oh my god, it was so perfect. They everything was at 11. It was.
I feel like if we were to be given only one of those previous episodes and then this episode, I feel like the viewer wouldn't so well be able to understand how Geto happened to become what he is in this episode, what he becomes in this episode. I feel like if we'd only had one of those other episodes instead of 4 to build this understanding psychologically of him and his train of thought, his reason for being a sorcerer, how he feels about it, the fact that a lot of his conversations with Gojo specifically are about why are we sorcerers, what are we trying to do, who are we trying to protect. I feel like if you had only given me 23 minutes prior to this 23 minutes of, oh, this is what they were like back in school, and this is when they were friends, and this is the catalyst that made him the way that he is, I would have been like, I I can get it on a broad scale how it happened, but I don't think I would like be in it to the point where they're trying to get me to like understand where he specifically, I guess this episode, the whole like you can either go that way or you can go that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can now see that crossroad. I can see that position he was in, understand the position he was in, and which two directions he could have gone in.
Yeah. I like when you're trying to produce, whether it's an anime, when if you're trying to like be an author, if you're writing a fictional story, whatever you're doing, you have an image in your head of what you're trying to get the audience to feel and what you're trying to get them, more importantly, when it comes to a show like this, what they understand. You want to try to be able to successfully convey information to them that makes complete sense in your head. And I think that over the course of season 1, I, at my own fault, was struggling a bit to try to understand what cursed energy, the interworkings of it. Mm-hmm. And upon a second, like a rewatch, I thought I had a better understanding of it. I can't believe the way that they are able to get to execute. That's the word I was looking for. The way that they were able to perfectly execute the entire character of Geto astounds me. I'm at a loss for words, and I'm like out of breath thinking about how well they were able to execute what the character of Geto is and what made him feel and think and decide the things that he did, and what led him to where he is now. I like everything. One of the perfect examples of it, I have so many, but towards the end of the episode when he was on stage and we were just getting the title cards of what the reactions to what he was saying were, like, that's the perfect time to utilize something like that, right? Because there are several reasons why you or creative choices why you do something like that. Whether it's because you're trying to skimp on animation, trying to not have to deal with the intricacies of reactions and back and forth and dialogue for that. Bro, they already flexed enough this episode to let us know that they could have done that easily with skill. The reason that they did it was just how much more tense the moment felt. The focus of it being on Geto and what his reactions to it being, which was the actual important part of that interaction. Like,
I think it also dehumanizes the audience.
Yeah,
not showing us their faces and what they look like. They don't even show us the man that comes up on stage, and it does a really effective job at dehumanizing them.
Yeah, and dehumanizing them to who specifically, right? Because as a viewer, yes, but how Geto looks at them as well now.
That's what it's so effective at showing us how he doesn't even. It's like we're seeing this character who doesn't even bother to look at their faces. Like, it does not matter what they look like. It does not matter how old they are, how young they are, what they look like. Honestly, actually, age might matter to him in terms of innocence, because he has those two kids with him.
That serves as the perfect contrast to it, right? That he how much attention,
the two kids before going on the stage.
Yep.
We see him like pet both of their heads, and then once he gets on stage, which I assume is a room full of probably adults.
Yeah. Dude, okay, I've been thinking, like, when do I say this during the discussion? Like, do I wait a little bit? I just have to, like, get it out of my head. Okay. It too often are there badass, amazing visual transitions in anime. And I love it and comment on it every time I see one. Mm-hmm. Every single time. And I love that extra mile they go. And I appreciate it. Because anime, at the end of the day, to most people, is a visual medium, primarily. I cannot stop gushing about the auditory transitions this episode. From the fucking water in the shower to the clapping reminiscent.
I feel like if there was an award show, if there was an award show for, like, then you would even just take a 1 minute,
Yeah.
50-second clip of a choice, a creative choice by a sound director or something like that, that would like win in my mind.
But here's the thing though. If it was just that, yes. But why I give it to the showrunner and the direction of the episode was the dismount. How not only the episode ended, not only every time that it Geto felt that feeling again and you got to hear the clapping arise again, but in the conversation with Yuki Tsukumo when they faded back out from the clapping to outside of the room that they were in to show the rain, like it was perfect. It was so well done. It was, man, dude. It was such a treat to watch.
And they introduced a character that would further help the audience understand that like even people in world can understand or sympathize to some degree Geto's thought process, not necessarily the choice he inevitably makes. Obviously, they wouldn't necessarily agree with that, or else they would be doing the same thing as him, possibly. But they can understand what bothered him.
Yeah, I think I don't. It could have been other characters reacting a lot differently, but the fact that it was Yuki and when he said what he said, my jaw dropped. But then once I saw the approach that Yuki was taking to that response and how Yuki handled it, I was like, I love that it's not just a, oh, you want to do what? That's evil. You know, like I love that it was like handled with a little bit of like nuance to that degree. You know what I mean? Like it was her talking through it.
She wasn't
like
just totally like putting
dismissive.
him down and dismissing his feelings on the matter.
Which would then make him resent that stance more, which would then push him there. It wasn't about that, right? It was about the choice, because the choice indicates what kind of true motive in the character like Geto has. It's not him being influenced by other people making mistakes that leads him to where he ends up. It's his own information that he is seeing in front of himself through his own eyes, and then his decisiveness after that.
I think you're really right to like bring up the whole influence aspect and the fact that Yuki isn't that. If anything, what she influences is for him to identify the position that he's in, and that these two feelings that he's feeling that are contradictory are really just two paths he can choose to take. And she's really just opening him up to what position he's in, and how to get out of it is to pick one. And to live your life by that. And so she's not like influencing him like, I think you should go down that right tunnel, you know, like she's just like
laying out the plan, or laying out the situation that he's in, and like the options that he has. And I love that it being like visually represented by down a hallway or the exit door. That's, it might be like, oh, obvious or whatever, but it was just so perfect because it wasn't like held on too long and like on the frame. It was pretty quick.
And she comes in and she's like, what's your type?
Dude,
like, Toto,
I
where
lost it.
Where you been at?
And just like how to introduce a character that is being thought about in the second half of season 1 a lot, in my opinion. Like after seeing Toto's interaction with her like under the bridge after beating up those people, I was like, oh my god, I need to know so much more about you. I need to know you. Giving us a little bit of that character with a little bit of information about who they are, what their grade is, and what they've been doing, and then using it to like convey such an important story point. It was insane to watch, because at first I was like gushing and fanboying out to like the fact that she was here and she was saying what she was saying. And over the course of the conversation, they handled it so well that like I just so easily like lost my fanboyishness into the immersion of the episode again. Like it was like, I don't know. It was so well done, dude. We're recording this in the morning, and sometimes when we record things in the morning, we're like a little groggy or whatever. So apologies if like I'm not fully like on, but what I'm trying to get across is that this completely woke me up. This like was like when
I mean, you did have a very audible reaction to her
yeah.
walking in the room.
This is like when I played hockey and like you had like smelling salts on the bench and I'm just like, "Oh my god, dude, give me more Jujutsu Kaisen." Like I on the hiatus of Jujutsu Kaisen, sometimes like I was like, "Huh, it's such like a top like one of my favorite shows ever." I don't know what season 2 is gonna bring, and this just like explains why it's one of my favorite shows ever. Like it's the perfect example.
It's before we leave that conversation, I appreciate dialogue wise, talking about what they currently do, the Jujutsu sorcerers, as just treating symptoms,
Yeah,
and I could really get behind that and like understand where she was coming from and what she was saying with that, like honestly, and how defeating. I think that the viewer can understand how defeating that probably feels, especially when we get that line later on in the episode from Geto about like losing your friends. Like the Jujutsu sorcerers, these are his friends. These are the people he's close with, that he sees every day, and they're the
Haibara.
lives that are on the line for all of these other people, just to treat symptoms and put band-aids on things.
Yep.
That's super frustrating.
And it would lead him to a decision that, much like Yuki came to, that this isn't the way to go about things. We need to do something more. We need to find a solution to this and like try to attack the problem at its base. But whereas Yuki is still looking and trying to figure out how specifically to handle it, like, okay, because of this, I've sided with like trying to have everybody in the world be able to, use and control your
cursed energy, yeah.
cursed energy. It instead, like I'm
Not
going to
leak
go
out. Like the Jutsu sorcerers, they don't leak out the cursed
because they have more
energy
control over
because
it.
They have more control over
But
it.
her coming to that conclusion isn't that dramatic turn that is probably gone through her head a couple times of like kill everybody who isn't one, because she was like, you're right, that would be the quickest way to achieve things.
We had a line like right after she acknowledged that and was like, yep, that would be the quickest, I think she even said that's the easiest way, which if you say to someone that's the easiest way to them, you're basically saying like that's not the way that's like worth it,
yeah, in
your opinion. So that's what she's saying, is like that's the easy way out, that's maybe the coward's way out, something like that. But there's a line that's like have them evolve using fear and like danger,
like how birds grew their wings. Yep. And like and since we are at a point in time that we are the ones who are able to potentially make that decision, we shouldn't go down the road of something so torturous and immediate. And there was another great line of like the marathon game of being a Jujutsu sorcerer. Like, oh.
And then it also reminds you of like in marathons, like passing the baton, like if you don't make it, you die. They're all constantly running. Like you're running until you need to pass it on to the next generation or the next sorcerer, and then they have to take on where you left off if you died, and then they have to run for their whole life, and then the person after them has to run, and
Yeah. I loved in the beginning of the episode we were catching up with Gojo and like what he's learned in the past year, probably a lot after that awakening that he had with Toji Zenin. I loved that.
Is that what I'm supposed to call him instead of Fushiguro?
Yeah,
or
Toji Zenin.
What am I supposed to call that? I mean, I know he's dead now, but what am I supposed to refer to him as?
Toji, because it's less confusing.
Toji, because it's less confusing. Okay, we'll go with that.
But I love that we got to see, I've never thought about it in the way that Gojo phrased it. Like, he's able to discern the danger level of things within his ability.
The eraser and then the sharp pencil.
That was so fucking cool, bro. I loved it. I also loved Haibara before he died. Jesus. He's a great judge of character, right?
As soon as he told, I kind of knew originally that he was probably going to die because of the fact that I was like, I don't remember any reference or like seeing of you in season 1.
That along with the title card of this episode,
so
Premature Death.
The title card didn't get me actually about Haibara specifically, but what solidified it for me from not knowing him from season 1 or from Jujutsu Kaisen 0 was that this conversation he has with Geto. I was
Yeah.
like, he's like, I'm going off. I'm going pretty far for this mission.
Yeah, yeah.
Wish me luck, that kind of energy. Like, and he's like, I'm a great judge of character.
Dude,
He's super fun
we got to
loving.
talk
He's like,
about
buy
that.
me a cola.
So that broke my heart a bit because it's the same. This line of dialogue and the reaction to it led me to feel the same way I imagine Gojo felt upon leaving off Geto in that crowded street. The Haibara saying, I'm a great judge of character, and Geto immediately being like, you say that while sitting next to me? And Haibara question marks, yes. Like, and that combined with Yuki saying that you, like, there are two options here, combined with Gojo's reaction of what he's doing, it truly leaves me, as a member of the audience, feeling like Geto has that in him. He's not he wasn't inherently bad and like wasn't destined to become that if that's not the choices that he made.
He chose to go with his hatred. I feel like the emotions and feelings of frustration and anger and hatred and sadness, even all of those emotions are the hardest to like rid your body of.
Yeah.
Like they, especially if you hold on to them, they can just really affect you, and it's hard to just get rid of them and get them out of your system. They're so hard to remove, and they can be like so strong. And so I feel like he really just went with his emotions there. He like picked those really strong, hard to get rid of emotions, and he just went with them to the point where what we saw later on was almost like a numbness to even the idea of what he was doing. And I think you're really, I love that we're bringing up, like, he wasn't inherently, like, he wasn't born to be bad. Like, he wasn't, came out the womb a villain. Like, that's not how this worked. Like, what he witnessed and what he went through specifically, you know, in the last couple episodes is what gave him those emotional feelings that have driven him to this point. And then obviously with the catalyst of like seeing Haibara's death, you know, that definitely, I think, really, really solidified it for him. Once he saw a person he had just seen that told him that he was a good person, basically.
Yeah.
Someone that he had a friendship with that was like, I'm going to get you a souvenir. And he was like, what do you want? And he was like, something sweet, because I'm probably going to share it with Gojo. Like, very friend-like conversation, and then the next thing you know, he's looking at him dead on a table.
Yep. It's like, and like, you're like trying to understand Geto. It's like, what is he feeling at that point, right? Is he feeling like, I never want this to happen to somebody else again? Is he feeling like this is just like another, you know, another piece of hay on the camel's back, or the straw, right? But I like
the cherry on top.
Yeah, Haibara had a line about like not being a person who thinks things deeply. When I'm thinking about Geto, like his introspection and like internal thoughts are like go wild. They go crazy. I would love in the future, or in the past, I guess, to see Geto talk to somebody with the same level of introspection and inner workings and inner thinking, right? Like, I'm trying to think who that would be. Like, not somebody who's just like, what you're doing is wrong, because I imagine that will come and that's like expected to a degree. But because of how good the writing is, it makes me want more of it. Like, I want what Fushiguro is. Megumi is pretty good on that front, and I love all of his like how intelligent he is. So that might be a great conversation at one point for them to be able to talk if they ever came front to front. Yeah. His
position being Toji's son, but also basically very important to Gojo.
And which, again, we should touch on later, but it was not a coincidence that Gojo went to Megumi after this Geto thing happened, right?
His last piece of dialogue specifically before we get him going up to Megumi, yeah.
And so that, what you just said, reinforced with the fact that a curse was the reason that Sumiki is the way that she is, would give ample room for Megumi to talk in regards to this conversation.
So is she not actually his sister?
I don't
Because
know.
I thought from season 1 that, and he could still refer to her if he grew up with her in the same household.
Yeah, yeah.
Still could refer to her as his sister.
For sure.
But I think Megami said something like, and her mom hasn't come back or something.
Yeah.
Maybe they are siblings, but they don't know it for sure.
I loved how intelligent right off the bat Megami was. Like,
oh yeah.
Gojo was like, "Are you a first grader?"
Are you smarter than
Dude, so right when the conversation with the kids being locked behind the bars,
I thought that
the shadows with the skeletons turning into Ghetto.
I thought he was just gonna kill those 2 older people right then and there in that room. I didn't know it was gonna be he's like, let's take this outside. I didn't know what he meant by that.
It was so good because if he just killed them there, that would not at all have been in his character. It truthfully wouldn't. It, like, the fact that because it wasn't him alone in the room with them.
Yeah, it was the 2 kids.
And the idea of saving those kids would not align with killing these people in front of them.
I just like, I mean, I could understand why Ghetto was angry here. I was like, this is a push that I think I would even be like, I'd probably slap him.
Yeah.
I'd be like, shut up. Like, you guys are gross.
It's a very Gojo thing to like take these kids under his wing,
Ghetto,
though. No, Gojo thing. Yeah. Like
that's why I said this is a story about how 2 high school aged boys became single dads.
Yep. I adored the drawing of Ghetto amongst the fire next to his curse. There's something about it that is so liquid. Like about like the actual like outline and strokes of his character here. It reminds me of like 1, liquid eyeliner, 2, of the black liquidness of like cursed energy and how it's portrayed in this series. And
it looks like he's just embodied by the cursed
exactly,
energy.
and he's amongst
blue,
it.
Normally, the blue, the cursed energy, has those, like you said, it's like a black liquid eyeliner,
Yeah.
kind of, used around the flame of cursed energy.
Uh-huh.
And here, it's not used
because it's within it.
Because it's like, it's within. That's awesome.
It's so fucking cool. He dropped the button. I honestly, I cannot think of a single moment this episode that was wasted or spent in anything but, like, trying to, like, propel this episode into greatness. Like, the interaction between the principal and Gojo here, it was so good because it was like, huh? And it was like, do I really have to repeat myself? Gojo's response to that is what made that interaction too. Like, no, you don't have to. I'm questioning what you're saying.
I really appreciated that, the principal kind of retracted a little bit, like, oh, I shouldn't be questioning Gojo about why he didn't chase after Ghetto. Like, I can completely understand why he wouldn't have done that. Like, that literally was, maybe to the principal, it probably would have been hard to chase after Ghetto also if he was in Gojo's shoes. I mean, this was someone that they went to school with, or that he taught, and that they've known for a long time now, and no one wants to believe that the person they know has like killed that many people. I mean, that's why Gojo's like, you got this all wrong. Like, that's totally not true.
Yeah.
That many people, he did that, wrong person.
Yeah. The interaction with Shoko, I really appreciated that. I for Ghetto's character as well, just establishing it, but it makes me, that combined with the Haibara incident earlier in the episode, leaves me very scared because we have somebody on Nanami's team die.
Mm-hmm.
We have somebody on Gojo's team leave.
Mm-hmm.
Out of Yuta, Maki, Panda, Nobara, Fushiguro, and Itadori, I am nervous that one of them is either going to leave or die.
Well, okay. Well, we already did the dying thing, and then Itadori came back. So we're just going to say that that's canceled and done. We don't have to do that anymore.
Yuta's one of my favorite characters in the series, but because of how good his character is and complete it is, could lead to something.
But what impact would it have on the characters in the story and not just the audience?
Unless there was... Like any characters you mean in like the main
Yeah,
three
yeah, the main cast.
other than Gojo? Because like when we're saying main cast, we're not including Panda and Maki, right?
No, I was including them too.
Oh well, that
But we.
Maki especially. Maki and
Okay, yeah, you're right with
Yuta
that.
had like a crazy
Mm-hmm.
close relationship, but it makes me worried nonetheless, right?
That's fair.
The "I hate monkeys" line.
Did he use that same language?
Goku, right? Tail, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Uh, in Dragon Ball Z, a antagonist named Frieza refers to Saiyans as monkeys, so it made me think of
It made you think of Dragon
Dragon
Ball.
Ball Z. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Did he talk like that in season 1 though?
I think that we
I
had a
feel
few
it
lines.
sounded like something I could have imagined hearing, but I don't know if I'm just like my imagination is
Kind of reminds me
taking
of
control
JJK
there.
Zero. It's been a while, obviously.
I
for
just I
us.
feel like I've heard Geto say that line before.
Yeah.
Now.
Do you
Could
think
be wrong.
that from from the conversation we got with Megami, does Megami understand that his dad was killed by Gojo? Like,
He said to him, "I understand what all of what you're saying."
yeah.
So I've read that as like he understood the gist that like the only reason you'd be coming to me is either to is I don't know. I think so. Yes. I don't know what
Because
you're
like
saying.
before he said that, when he just said I have no interest where he is or what he's doing and he interrupted Gojo saying kill,
Mhm.
I was like, okay, he doesn't know. But then when he said though I get the general idea from what you just said, then I was like, okay, so he, you know,
Mhm.
and then like combining that with Tsumiki's mom not coming home
Mhm.
makes sense. And the way that they transitioned it back to present time is beautiful, dude.
Yeah, honestly, when you were talking about the pacing for this episode, that's impressive in itself that you were like 1 year later and now, present time to Gojo waking up. And what that energy that it gives to you is like, was all of this just Gojo reminiscing about the past? And if that's the case, when you think about someone, we're getting told a story from someone specifically from a character, then you have to like wonder why it was shaped the way that it was it shaped that way because that's how they viewed it and these were the interactions that were significant to them, what they view as the like pivotal moments. But obviously there were moments that Gojo wasn't involved in that we got, so you couldn't say like, oh, bias narrator or something like that, because
Yeah.
there were moments that he wasn't in the room.
Do you think that Gojo and Fushiguro are going to have any further interaction going forward in the season? Like in term, and of course, like, oh yeah, you're my sensei, right? But I mean in terms of like, Gojo said, you need to be strong enough to keep up with me. We had a great moment at the end of season 1 about Fushiguro really pushing past his limits. Do we think we're going to see any like enhancement of technique or
I couldn't see them giving us the backstory of his father and then
exactly?
showing us the interaction between Gojo and Megumi. I couldn't see them giving us both of those things, and then also why Gojo has this mission of wanting to have strong jujutsu sorcerers on his side.
Yeah.
I couldn't see them giving us this without giving us more Fushiguro development, Megumi development, or conversations between the two of them.
I agree with you.
I do wonder if like Sumiki is gonna have I think it's
Sumaki?
I wonder if that's going to be something that also happens.
Sumiki.
That's going to be something that is also prevalent in the rest of this season, because I believe she's cursed, she's asleep, something like that in season 1, and we're getting more mention and then seeing her here that, oh, sure, maybe we're just getting like a more accurate picture of this conversation between Gojo and Megami. We're just seeing all of the bits and pieces of it. But I also think that it's possible that there could be development there.
Yeah, I agree with you. My last thing I have is the I am hesitant to call it a juju stroll because we are not told it's a juju stroll. But It was about the word moto, right? Or the term moto,
Oh,
and
at the end.
yeah, yeah. And
It
how
was
it,
like, is it written in moto and kanji?
yeah, yeah, and them talking about how
Motto.
you need to write it in katakana, and the fact that it's a foreign word because of its spelling. I assumed that it would be Japanese too, but then I was like, okay, the two T's are interesting, right? Because there's no katakana for a T. So I'm like, would it be in katakana? Would you write it mo like dash T like mo like katakana dash to katakana for the extension of the to? Because I maybe
Hmm.
I don't know.
It's been a while since I've taken
Yeah.
Japanese.
How do you write moto in katakana? Is it mo dash to like to extend the to, or please help me? How do you write it? I need to know.
Obviously, you need to know. Why would they pose questions like that at the end of the episode if it wasn't like vital importance?
Jujutsu Kaisen gets me thinking. You good? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.